Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Coach Monken's weekly press conference here at NOAC Auditorium as the Black Knights get set to take on Duke this Saturday at noon at Michie Stadium on CBS Sports Network and the Army Sports Network. Coach Monken will start with an opening statement and then take questions from those joining us here at NOAC and then those joining us on the teleconference. At this time, I'd like to introduce the head coach of the Black Knights, Jeff Monken.
Good afternoon. Coming off a thrilling win at Air Force, that was just a tremendous effort by our team. I thought that our coaches, Coach Davis on offense, Coach Bateman on defense, along with the staffs on both sides of the ball, really had a great game plan and put our kids in place to execute. And the credit goes to our team, our players that went out there and played and played the blocks and made some tackles and were able to block Air Force and move the ball effectively enough to score enough points to win. So I thought our guys really played with a lot of heart and a lot of effort, and really, really proud of our guys to be able to get that victory out there. Going into this week against Duke, who's got a very talented football team, and we've played them, I guess, the last couple of years, so they're becoming much like a conference game, and it's interesting to kind of see how this plays out. They've had a couple of weeks or will have had a couple of weeks to get prepared for us. Played Georgia Tech right after us, so their defense is in full defend the option mode, and they've done really well with that. They've stymied us on offense. Made it very difficult for us to move the ball the last couple of years, and they're very talented on offense. The game last year isn't a very good indication because it was so wet and the hurricane was coming through that part of the country. But the year before, they got after us pretty good. So it's going to take a great effort for us to win, and hopefully our guys are up for it. We're obviously a few days behind them, so we'll get to work this afternoon and try to practice and be prepared for what we know is going to be a very difficult game for us.
Go ahead, Joe.
Joe from WKDT. Coach, we were sitting there in Eisenhower Hall, 150 cadets, watching it on 21-foot screen, having a real good time, free food, and we're expecting 35-31. We were expecting almost anything except a shutout of the number 3 rushing team in the country. How did you do that?
Well, as I said, I think number one, the job that Coach Bateman did preparing our guys and the plan that they put in place for their offense, I thought was a really good plan. And it took the execution of that plan by our players. We had a couple of mistakes. We had a couple of errors where we turned some guys loose on play action routes. Their tight end was running down the field by himself one time, and they overthrew him, and we had another one where it was it probably would have been a little hairy had they let the ball go, but we had some pressure on the quarterback and he wasn't able to throw it. But it took a great effort. I mean, their quarterback's a really good runner, the Worthman kid, and it was tough to get down. A couple times we thought we had him sacked, and he's very powerful and was able to get out of it and got himself out of some trouble, but just kept the ball in front of us, didn't have any big plays against us, and really did a nice job playing some blocks. So I thought Jay did a great job, the staff, and then our players just played with a lot of heart and a lot of toughness and executed it.
So there was, as you were watching the tape the week of Air Force, you and Coach Bateman said, hey, if we do this, I mean, did you do something special, or was it just execution?
I mean, just a game plan that we put together for them. And I think everybody, Wyoming's doing the same thing right now. They're perusing the tapes and trying to figure out what they can do that fits their defense to try to stop Air Force. So I thought it was an outstanding plan, but it takes the execution of the plan for it to work, and the credit goes to our kids and the job that they did of getting themselves in position, aligning correctly, playing blocks, and then getting people to the ground, and it was just a combination.
Okay, so moving on now to Duke. Started off like a house of fire, and now it's coming down like a house crashing. when you come into a team on a long losing streak like this, is it we'll push them over, or is it watch out, they're dangerous?
Well, you look at the games that they've played. They started out 4-0. Mm-hmm. They lost to Miami, who I think's one of the best teams in the country. They're one of the only undefeated teams left in the country. They lost by 7 to Florida State. It would be hard to argue that there's a lot of teams across America that are less talented than Florida State. I know they got a lot of players, and that was a close game. They lost by 7 to Virginia. Virginia's proven that they're an outstanding team. They've won a lot of big football games in the ACC, and Pitt, who's got a very talented team and have won some big games. So it's not like they're losing to little sisters of the poor. They're playing some real live football teams, and they just haven't come out on top. But those 3 of those games have been 7-point losses. So got a good football team and maybe one of the best, or maybe one of the most well-coached football teams in the country. I've got a lot of respect for David Cutcliffe, the job he's done. In the last 5 years, they've won 41 games. In the 17 years prior, they won 37 games. Right. So you look at the job that he's done, and just the difference in that program, the pride in that program, and the success is pretty amazing.
Well, now they're losing close games. You're winning close games. So that's an edge, right?
Yeah, we haven't played Florida State, Virginia, Miami. It's a little bit different. That's no knock on the teams that we've played. Right. We played some really good football teams. You look at what Temple did a week ago in their game against Navy, and that we have a lot of respect for Navy and what they've done, been able to move the ball, and I think Eastern Michigan's got a terrific defense. They've lost a lot of close games, but I thought they were really stout. But it's a different level, ACC, and so it's going to take a tremendous effort on our part to have a chance to win this game.
Go ahead, Rich.
Go Army Radio. Just Senior Day. I know it's coming up, and I know you're not ready to say goodbye to this group, but what have they meant to you, and of course the legacy and what they've been able to do these past couple of years?
This is a really special group of guys, and really because we've had them since they were freshmen, and a lot of these guys were in the prep school program when we came, and others were guys that we recruited as high school seniors and are finishing up their careers with us, and they're a special group of guys. And it's when you have a whole team of guys that have been around with one coaching staff and seen the change from their freshman year to now. It's really satisfying to see what they've been able to accomplish together as a group. And it's a great group of guys. They've meant a lot to us as players. But they've, beyond that, meant a lot to our football team from a leadership standpoint, and just the amount of trust that I have in them personally, and that our staff has in those guys. They mean a lot to our team, and we're certainly not done. We got a lot of football left to play, 4 games, and we're not saying goodbye yet. This is an opportunity for the West Point community and the Mikey Stadium crowd that's here so loyally every week to thank these guys and honor them for a great career. So hopefully we'll be able to play really well, and our team will honor those guys in a way that really matters.
And, Coach, you guys have accomplished so much, and I know the 5 wins in a row, the win over Air Force, bowl eligibility. One of the goals is undefeated at home, and obviously an opportunity to do that by winning this Saturday. With it being Duke, an ACC opponent, all the other things out there, how much is it a motivator to finish out the season undefeated at home this week?
It wouldn't matter who we were playing. We'd be fighting as hard as we can to win. What Duke is presenting is an even greater challenge to get that done, and so we're going to practice this week and do the very best we can to field a team that's prepared, that's fresh, that can play our very best physically. Because when you watch those guys play, and you say whatever you want about the record, they got some really good players that you watch, and you try to figure out how you can block them, or you try to figure out how you can beat a block on them, how you get them to the ground, how you can cover them. They got a bunch of really good players, and any one of these games I was talking about on their record could have gone the other way very easily. So we're looking at a team that's 4-5, and you could flip every one of those 5 losses the other direction. And it's been impressive to watch. And each time we watch them, there's more things that you see that concern you. So I'm thinking about turning off the tape and not watching any more of it because they're really good, and they just keep getting better.
Great, thanks, Coach.
Go ahead, Sal.
Coach, what was the celebration like when you returned to West Point, I guess late Saturday or early Sunday?
We got back into town 1:30 in the morning, so normally we would drop the guys off at Arvin Gym area down there in the parking lot, and there were several members of the community and a large group of cadets that were there to welcome everybody back. I think that really meant a lot to our team. It certainly did to me. And then Sunday night, the Corps of Cadets, we have a recall on Sunday night that's just traditionally part of the week's schedule. And it was a bit of a pep rally, so we were out there on the steps in front of the mess hall, and it was a lot of fun to have the entire Corps out there and celebrate the victory, and not only our victory, but the other victories. Over the weekend, men's and women's rugby both beat Air Force, men's and women's boxing both beat Air Force, hockey beat them twice, and then we were able to get a victory there on Saturday afternoon. So it was a celebration for everybody, and it was just a great job by all of those teams, as well as the job that our players did.
When you got here, how much was it important to you to reconnect the core to the football team?
I think that the Corps and the football team have always had a connection, and it's not easy to be a part of an organization on campus, no matter what it is, and to feel completely connected to everybody else in the same way that you are that organization. Whether it's our team or the jump team that flies out of the helicopters and the parachutes, or any one of our sports teams, or Sandhurst team, or you name it. They're going to be more connected to those cadets because they spend a lot of their time together. But what's unique about football is that when we do play at home, the entire Corps is there, and they're in attendance cheering on our team, and it's a unique opportunity for our team to connect with those we represent in the Corps, and that's who we play for. So I think winning helps that connection better than anything, and because we've been able to have some success this year and a little bit last year, that I think that's helped the connection with our entire campus community. And I think there's a spirit here, and there's it's driven certainly by our superintendent, General Caslin. He talks about winning. He's not afraid to do that, and I like that. And having a culture of winning, a culture of excellence. And when you start to have success in your sports teams, especially over the other academies, there's a sense of pride that starts to build. And there's a spirit here on this campus that you can feel and is certainly present, that I don't think was present a few years ago when I got here.
Go ahead, Josh.
Hi, Coach. Joshua Dye, Spectrum News. When you look at the prep for this kind of game and how important going undefeated at home has been for you all season, coming off an emotional win against a CIC in a CIC game, What is the trick to keep these guys fresh mentally and emotionally as they, especially for a senior class that's coming into their last home game?
I think that's a challenge when you win a big game, and we've had those conversations with our guys already this year. When we beat Eastern Michigan in the really close ball game, I think Sunday night when we had practice, we got out there and you could kind of feel just there's a little bit of an emotional letdown. It's because it takes a lot out of you when you go through a game like that. When you win a game like that, it takes a lot out of you, and then to do it again the next week against Temple, I think is really an indication that these guys are mentally tough enough to be able to handle that and capable of putting the last game behind us and moving on to the next one. So this was certainly a big game for us to beat Air Force in a game that has implications with the Commander-in-Chief's trophy, and then to move right back into Duke. But having lost to them the last 2 years, I think our guys certainly feel like we've got something to prove to ourselves that we can at least battle with these guys. And I just don't feel like it's been that way. I think the last 2 years they've kind of beaten the pants off of us. We had a big play last year against them. They got the touchdown, and the conditions were terrible, but we really didn't move the ball very effectively. Beyond that, we had a blocked punt, but really besides that, the special teams didn't do a whole lot. And like I said, the year before they just beat the pants off of us. So. There's enough of a challenge here to just play an ACC team, enough, I guess, pride that we want to play well. We want to play as well as we can against who we think is going to be a really good opponent. So hopefully the goal of trying to go undefeated at home, which we've positioned ourselves for, will give us some motivation. We're going to need some to be able to win this game for sure.
And you look at how Duke has played this year. A lot of younger players stepping up for them. For you, as a head coach of the opposing team, do you see that as an advantage for you guys, as a chance to attack some young players, or is it just beyond them playing to their level?
No, I really don't. I don't see them having. Young players. I'm going to try to turn to their roster page, because if you just start with our quarterback, he's a veteran player. I think everybody in the ACC would tell you he's one of the best players in the ACC, and it starts with him. And he's got a very good supporting cast. They got good players. The Humphreys kid, 34, he is a terrific player at Mike linebacker. We had a tough time blocking him. He makes every tackle. We played a year ago. I don't know how many tackles the kid had against us a year ago, but he was around the ball every play. And 21, Alonzo Saxton, who's a senior, he plays on their kickoff team, and you're scratching your head trying to figure out how you're going to block him on the kickoff team. He plays every down on defense, and he's always standing around the ball and hard to block in space. And he'd love to have a guy where when he's running downhill tackling the pitch, you say, well, you can throw a play-action pass over the top of him. No, you can't. He's too fast. He wheels around and has the ability to cover people when he reads out and sees its pass. So, I can go through the roster here. I think there's some really good players that we've faced the last couple years that have seen our offense and seen our defense, and we've got some guys out there that haven't played too. So. I know none of them were offered scholarships by Duke.
And the last one for me, Coach. Them having an extra week, obviously you can't do anything about their scheduling, but for your game plan, does that have an effect on how you approach a prep week like that, knowing a team has an extra week to see what you guys are going to do?
I don't know that it changes what we do. We've got to, like we did the first. I guess the last 7 games of those first 8. So going into the Fordham game, you have a little more time to get prepared. But the next 7 games was a 1-week turnaround. So that's kind of the way we've got to prepare for Duke. The unique thing is that Duke's played us each of the last 2 years, and certainly then on offense, they play Georgia Tech every year. And so they've got an option plan that they've developed over the years, and it's gotten better and better each year. And they find new wrinkles and new things that they do against us that make it really difficult. So it's just trying to figure out what it is that they've done and how we think they're trying to defend it, and coming up with ways to try to counterattack what they're doing. And it is difficult. It's a real challenge for us on offense. But I think that just looking at offense, Army, Air Force, Army, Navy games where we battle each other year in and year out. We get to know them, they get to know us, and the offenses are almost identical. And what Brent has done in just the last couple of those games, and just trying to come up with little different wrinkles that we can do to try to move the football. And we kind of feel the same way about Duke. They're a defense that knows our offense as well as the other academies. So it makes it very difficult.
Thank you.
All right, we'll open it up to those joining us via teleconference. Please state your name and organization and ask your question.
Yes, this is Charles Grievous with GoBlackKnights.com. First of all, good afternoon, Coach. This is the renewal of the series in, I think it's 2009. Duke has won 3 of the last 4 games, with Army's last win coming in 2010. Last year, Duke demonstrated that they know how, and you talked about that a little bit today, to defend against the triple option, and they held the Army offense to 214 yards and 6 points to win what I call a defensive battle in Durham, and the score was, I think, 13-6. Needless to say, the game was played in the tropical storm conditions, so neither offense moved well. But can you point your finger to what it is about the Blue Devils team as a whole where they come out and play the Black Knights so well?
Well, for them on defense, I think they've got a great scheme, and again, they play this offense every year. When I was an assistant at Georgia Tech with Coach Johnson beginning in 2008, they've faced this offense every year since 2008, and in our case, then they faced it twice in 2009, twice in 2010, twice last year, twice the year before. They get pretty good at playing it, and like I said, it's like playing in an academy team. They know the offense. They've got a good scheme against it. They've got a bunch of different calls. They've got different calls for different formations or alignments for different formations, and so it's a real challenge, and it's a lot of cat and mouse. With that, accompanied with a great coaching staff and the job they've done scheme-wise, they've got really good players. I think they're a very talented team. I mentioned a couple of those guys that are on their defense, but I mean, I could go through their defensive roster here and tell you just how much I think and respect each one of those guys. They're tough to block, and as I said, we don't have guys running around on our team that got offered scholarships at Duke. They've got really good players at a different level than us. So the way that we've got to combat that is to try to have our guys prepared and do a good job coaching, and then get our guys to play really hard and play great fundamentally, and hope that it'll be good enough.
Great. And my follow-up question, final question, and basically piggyback off of, I think, Rich's question. On Saturday, the seniors will be honored. Can you talk about this particular group of seniors and what they have meant to you personally beyond just the coach-player relationship, and what they've meant to the continuous growth of the Army football program overall?
I'd like to talk about each one of them individually. I mean, they're just great kids, each one of them, and they care about our program. They care about their teammates. They have a lot of pride in being a part of this team, and I think really feel a sense of responsibility to serve this team, to lead this team, and that's what they do. But you look at just there's certain few guys that come to mind that have played a lot. Ahmad Bradshaw and you got John Traynor, who's played a couple different positions, and holy smokes, Brett Toth. I mean, what he means to our program. Josh Boylan, who basically walked on at the prep school and has just built himself into being a really tough, hard-nosed, good college football player. Mike Houghton, those three guys on the offensive line. John Voight, Alex Ackerman, Bailey Wolf, Matt Sinella, Ryan England. I don't know if we got a better leader than Ryan England. I mean, what a great kid he is. And I don't know if I'm leaving anybody out.
Bryce.
Holland?
Yeah.
He's got another year.
Oh, he does.
Nice try. We're going to keep him around. He got another year. Nice try. We're going to keep him around too. So it's a small group of guys. I probably left a couple of guys out, but Jermaine, and what is certainly Jermaine. Yep, and Jeffy Jeckham. That's right. Those two guys are both senior receivers, and there's a guy, Jermaine, who's punted for us, made a huge catch, and I remember my college coach telling me one time. He said, Monk, I don't know when you're going to make a play. He goes, sometime in your career you're going to make a play. It's going to make a difference for us. And I was a guy that had to work really hard. I wasn't near as talented as any of the guys I played with, and I kind of felt that way about Jermaine. No offense to him, but he's played behind Edgar Poe and played behind Bell and some really tough, physical, good players, and he's just kept working and working, and to make a play like that that's made such a difference in our season and just the spirit of this program. And Jeffy Jeckham is a great kid. He has been so much fun to coach, and to watch him grow from a freshman, and he's really had a great career. So, like I said, it's hard to remember them all off the top of my head, but a great group of guys, and they've really led our team well, and I think there's a lot of pride in that group, knowing that we've been able to flip from what we did their freshman year to what we're doing right now.
Thank you very much.
Hi, Coach. Ken Fraser, Sons of the American Legion Radio. Good afternoon. I was just going to ask you a little bit about when you looked at the film from Saturday, some of the good blocking that you may have seen. I really thought there was some great blocking on Ahmad Bradshaw's first touchdown early in the game, and then you were getting blocks to open up your outside game. What did you see in the film about some of the blocking?
I think that was certainly the thing that made the difference was the job that our offensive line did, and those guys just played really, really well and really hard, and Ahmad got some outstanding blocks from the backs that were in front of him. Kalen Holt, I thought, had a game that stood out from even the great game that other guys on the team had. He had several blocks that we showed some of the clips on Sunday night. When we got back, we put some plays together, as we do often, and showed our team, and there were a lot of guys here in the meeting room, saying, "Hey, run that one back, run that back," and because he really had some great blocks to get Ahmad started, and so that was the difference. Ahmad made some really good runs too. You could see him. He had some physical runs where he ran through some tackles and out of some arm tackles and over some guys, and it was just fun to see our guys playing with such great effort and passion.
And Coach, just on defense, I thought the two inside linebackers, Nautical and Christensen, have really come a long way. And on Saturday, you had Ryan England back, and then Elijah Riley, who's back in the lineup for this week. How do you feel about those two defensive backs getting back into the lineup?
We were glad to have those guys back. I thought they both made a difference in the football game. And as I said earlier about Ryan and the leadership he's provided our team, that's a guy that broke into the lineup as a freshman. We moved him from slot back to safety midway through the season his freshman year, and he was starting 2 weeks after the move, and has been in the starting lineup ever since until he got injured this year. And just the toughness of Elijah Riley to be sidelined for 8 games and to come into this big rivalry game and play the way he did speaks volumes for the pride he has in getting prepared. And I think the great job that Josh Christian Young, our corners coach, did with having him ready and keeping him motivated, and those guys both made a big difference in the game.
And Coach, I'm just going to mention the tremendous enthusiasm we're seeing by the team after these recent games, the exciting wins that went out at Air Force on Saturday, the singing in the alma mater. How do you keep that excitement and translate it into energy for the team for the rest of the season?
Well, it's fun to win. It sure beats the alternative. And our guys, unfortunately, for a couple years, experienced the alternative. So we should celebrate victory, and because it's not easy to win, and those victories are hard fought. And when you put so much into something as these guys do, and work hard together and commit to each other, and when you accomplish something together, it means a lot more than just accomplishing something as an individual. So it's fun to celebrate those accomplishments together.
Thanks, Coach.
Anybody else?
Go ahead.
So, Coach.
Unfortunately, Joe, we can still hear you.
I'm still here. So, are you going to make sure Ahmad has the same breakfast that he had last Saturday? Seemed to really work for him.
Yeah, that I guess he probably eats the stuff he likes on Saturday morning before the game. So, whatever he wants is fine.
All right, thanks everyone. We'll see you on Saturday.